Look at this, honey. I found the winners. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to my garden. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Rose of Sharon. Specifically, the Blue Chiffon Rose of Sharon by Proven Winners. I added 2 of these Blue Chiffon Rose of Sharons to my garden last year, and I had a beautiful display. Now, I bought these 2 Rose of Sharons from Sandy's Back Porch Garden Center. I love the show that I had last season. In order to get that show, I got to provide a little bit of care now, not too much, but a little bit of care now to make sure I get the same display, if not better than I had last year. I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to go in, I'm going to prune her, and I'm also going to fertilize. The best time to go in and fertilize the Blue Chiffon Rose of Sharon is going to be in the late winter or early spring. So right now it's a rainy day, it's perfect. I can't get out in my garden bed, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of maintenance on this Rose of Sharon. A little bit of characteristics about the plant. Now, what I love most about her show is that beautiful soft color. And I also like the way that the bloom was, and it's almost, it looks like a double, but it's not quite. It's a semi-double bloom, and it was the star of my late summer garden. So when everything else was really tired, my Rose of Sharon was still just blooming out, and I really enjoyed her. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to pop her into the ground this year or if she's going to be a star in one of my containers as the thriller. With the Rose of Sharon, it's not really necessary that you go in and prune her, and you really don't have to give a hard prune, and I am one to prune a little bit on the rough side, but with the Rose of Sharon, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to shape her up a little bit and just basically cut her down. At the most, you want to go down by 1/3. Let's get started. So I garden in the zone 6B. I had to pull my Blue Chiffon Rose of Sharons out of a container and overwinter them inside of my sunroom, something that has a window inside. I just made sure I went out and I gave them water when I watered the rest of my containers throughout the winter that were outside. I also watered my Blue Chiffon Rose of Sharon. Another thing that I did is I took some leaves and I put the leaves on the top of them just as a little bit of added protection, just in case the door got left open or something like that and the cold air came in. So now the reason why I had to pull them out is because the Blue Chiffon Rose of Sharon is hardy from zone 5A to 9B. In order for me to have overwintered these Blue Chiffon Rose of Sharons in their containers, they would have had to be a zone 4. But because they're only a zone 5, I had to pull them out. And I had them in terracotta pots last summer. So that's just a recipe for disaster. It really doesn't look like much right now, but she's alive. And if you ever want to check to see if your shrub is alive, all you have to do is go in and scratch a little bit of the bark. Once you scratch a little bit of the bark back, you should be able to see a little bit of green, and that'll let you know that your shrub is still alive and well. They're not really fussy about soil type. They can take some pretty rough conditions, because over last summer there was some days where I maybe didn't get to water her as often as I would like to. But when I have a new shrub, I do kind of like to water them to where they stay moist, like a medium moisture, but not where I have to overwater them and baby them, because I want to develop a good root system. I'm going to start out by making sure I remove the old leaves that surround the canopy of the trunk. It's going to be officially spring in a couple of days, so we won't need that added protection. So I'm just going to go in and get all of this out. First, I'm going to check to see if my specimen is alive, because if she didn't make it through the winter time, then it's going to be very pointless for me to actually be pruning on a dead specimen, right? So I'm going to go in and just check a little bit. So you can use your fingernail or you can use the tip of the pruner. And so the only thing we're doing is we're going in just on a small branch and we're just going to scratch a little bit. And we are looking for green, and we do have green. So I'll get in so you guys can see. We're just going to get in and we're just going to make a small little bitty scratch with our fingernail, and just to see if it's living. And as you can see right there, just let the camera focus in a little bit. And as you guys can see right here, it's still living. We did a pretty good job with overwintering her. I would be okay with the lower canopy developing. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come in and just cut. You don't have to worry about cutting down to a set. We're just kind of just taking off a little bit of the growth and just making sure we have a show for next season. That's it. That's all. You don't really have to get in and prune vigorously. All right, so we got this first one done. Now we just need to do the next one. For these two pieces right here. Now, when you have standards in your garden, you have to remember that this bush has been trained to look like this. So in order to keep the shape, when you see side shoots coming out like this, you need to come in and you need to go ahead and cut that off as close to the base as you can as possible. Canopy is up higher, you just come in and you just cut that back as close to the base as possible. Okay, so I'm using a Spoma Rose Tone Fertilizer. When you fertilize the Rose of Sharon, you want to use a rose granular, some type of rose granular fertilizer. This is a plant that gives beautiful blooms off of woody stems. So we're going to use a little bit of rose tone. Let's look at how much is recommended for us to use. For potted plants or established plants, sprinkle 1 teaspoon of rose tone for every 3 inches of pot diameter into the soil along the outer edge of the pot. Water thoroughly. So what we're going to do is we're going to do about 1 cup for each one of these. I got these girls pruned and fertilized and watered in. A lot of you guys are always asking me about plants that are deer resistant. The blue chiffon Rose of Sharon is resistant. You want to make sure that you site these in an area that gets at the very minimum 4 hours of sun, but they will probably enjoy full sun better than part sun. But as long as you get 4 hours of sun, you should be perfectly fine with growing these beautiful specimens in your garden. Go ahead, drop down in the comment box. Do you have a blue chiffon Rose of Sharon in your garden? I love to hear about it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.